Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. I have the pleasure of introducing to you the red Terran at the top left aggressive him. The kid. It's Clem. From Team Liquid, from France. The best Terran outside of Korea, up against the very simply named Zerg player from Poland. It's Wayne. Recently changed his name from Ratata. Not sure how I feel, whether that's an evolution or the other way around, but this is who he is now. And also who he is. A challenger to Clem here in the ESL SC2 Summer Championships. A best of 5 Terran versus Zerg to decide. And if you like Terran versus Zerg, now historically... Oh, don't do it. Okay. Historically, Terran versus Zerg has been the iconic matchup. You think of Terran versus Zerg when you think of, well, a whole variety of sci-fi, but especially StarCraft 2. So if you like returning to those roots, well, Jimmy, 1,040 likes. If we get 1,040 likes on this video, I'll cast another series. And I'll probably do it anyways, because that's most of my life. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. I heard, I don't know much about this series. One, I'm always looking to show off slightly lesser known players, and I think Wayne does qualify, though Clem, obviously the favorite here. I know there's a back and forth. I don't know what that means. I try not to spoil myself, but I know this isn't a lopsided series either way. So I'm excited to find out. It looks like Clem doing the... This is just disrespectful, by the way. Just running in with the Hellions. Thing is, back at home, Wayne taking out the SCVs as well, and for a much less costly investment. Well, more Hellions are running by. All right, starting things out. This is essentially what you do on the ladder when you don't really want to play the game out, and you want to get an early lead, so that way hopefully you can close it out not too far afterwards. So Clem sends in 4 Hellions to kill 3 drones, whereas Wayne sends, well, a total of 4 Zerglings to kill 3 SCVs. So I think pretty clearly Wayne getting the better end of this. He starts his lair. Back at home, he's got 39 drones, adding another round of Zerglings here. I think getting a little suspicious overall, as Clem is actually on 2 base. Now, does Wayne have any idea of that? No, he hasn't scouted the main. I'd say probably 70% or so of the time, give or take 1 or 2%. You see 3 command centers out of Terran players. And now we see 3 command centers out of Clem, but not before he gets his starport, he gets cloak. Now, he may actually have to cancel that 3rd, as the Zerglings are chewing through the door right now. Banshee comes out, but the SCV is going to be taken out, which is going to delay it even further, and not even a cancel out of Clem. Oh, Clem not respecting Wayne here at all, and Wayne is showing him why he's made a mistake. Simple counterattack, simple timing, and simply takes out the 3rd command center. Straight up takes it out. Wow. Okay, that's quite a sizable mistake. A command center added to the unit's lost tab. And Wayne smartly taken a 4th base. As not only has he seen that Clem wants to commit to another command center, but he's lost it. So all Clem can really do is rebuild it. You can't just instantaneously pop out 20 Marines and 2 medevacs and try to go across the map instead. No. Clem just has to get a 3rd command center just a little bit later. With those resources down. So Wayne taking advantage of that. And, well, just taking full map control here, essentially. Clem, he's got 1-1 on the way, just started. Evolution chambers for Wayne. A little bit slower, as he invested in the 4th hatchery here to the south. 6 o'clock location. I like that. I like the positioning of the Evo chambers. Unlikely to get picked off there. A lot of philosophies when it comes to Evo chamber play. Ooh, loses a Banshee, Brunda. No, what? Okay, all right, fine. Just keep going. I know. Clem losing 1.8 or so Banshees there to a squad of 4 Queens. So far, some pretty uncharacteristic mistakes out of him. this first game of the series. So, Clem, pretty well known for essentially waking up moments before tournaments before. In fact, there's been several instances where, because his parents are very supportive, tournament organizers have reached out to his parents on Twitter, his dad specifically, and said, "Can you please wake up Clem to play in his tournament?" Now, I don't think that's the case for the ESL SC2 Masters. But right now it does feel like Clem is kind of shaken. Mistakes, okay, have been made. A few more Marines will add to the total. He does clear a bit of the creep, but the Hellions, Wayne, and not to take away from Wayne, it just usually the Terrans have a little more agency over their units at this phase of the game. We're so used to seeing the Banshees get away, the Hellions get the kills, the Marines escape into the medevacs at the last second. But Wayne is getting damage done. The counterattacks are killing command centers and SCVs. The Zerglings are getting the wraparound. So, Wayne is off to a strong lead in Game 1 on Grisbin, setting the tone for this best of 5. We have now an infestation, but Hydralisk Den is already done. 5th hatchery. Evo chambers and the Hydra Den potentially vulnerable, but the creep, well, the creep isn't too far out right now. Clem has kept control of it. But with 77 drones, Wayne seems to have locked into production mode. As I say it, he has a few more drones, but he's essentially at the drone count where you have the economy to do whatever you want. You can get all of the tech, especially if the Terran... Wow. Okay. Wow, those Marines not happy about that. Probably wondering why they're being dropped out with the Banelings right in their face, but with 80 drones, you have that worker count in order to both tech up and continue producing units. Essentially, you can commit some units to a counterattack while still defending at home, especially if you're on around even upgrades with the Terran. There are some Widow Mines on the field, which are troublesome to deal with, though can be turned against the Terran almost as easily as they damage the Zerg, and we see that there. Hitting a medevac with it. Oh, did he just save the mine? He picked it up and got it out. But another set of mines. That one's gonna hit pretty hard there. Oh no! Disastrous explosions across the board. Wayne losing a pretty large group of Zerglings. Do we have a battle report? 52 Zerglings in the last minute. 12 Marines, 3 Widow Mines, but Wayne still closing in. Knocking on the door, ripping apart the tanks. Banelings, good split on the Marines in the last moment. Hydra's getting distracted trying to pincushion that command center. Wayne getting a little strung out here, but Clem is starting to run out of units himself. Only one siege tank at the very back. Banelings rolling in through the small gap in the depots, killing 7 SCVs so far. The command center continues to burn, and Wayne is closing in with the Hydralisks. Down goes the last tank, and the command center, and the supply. But somehow Clem is able to muster the defense at the last moment. Even throws a contaminate onto the factory. Does Wayne on the way out. So not the game-ending attack quite yet, but the reinforcements are streaming across. Siege tanks have been delayed. 2-2 is still not done. Vipers are in production, as well as adrenal glands here for Wayne. He may have bitten off a little more. You know what? No, that was a victory for Wayne there overall. He did lose a lot. His units maybe a little unfocused, but eventually overran the 4th command center, as well as getting damage done on the 3rd. But Clem, not dead yet. He manages to put things together. He still has 9 medevacs. I don't think he even has enough units to put in 9 medevacs, with 33 Marines and 3 tanks, but rebuilding the defenses, rebuilding the command center. But the problem is, at the end of the day, Wayne has the entire, essentially his side of the map fully producing. He's got 5 hatcheries and counting, including that high, against a 3-base Terran. Clem does have 8 wrecks, but he simply doesn't have the economy on just 2.5 or so bases. I guess mules will do a lot for you. At least for now, until he really starts running out of mineral patches. But Lurker Den on the way, the Vipers are fully operational. Not a single ghost in sight, and not because of a cloaking device, but instead because he just hasn't had the economy. He yanks at a tank, blasts apart another. Blinding Cloud invalidates the Marines. Banelings rolling through. Blinding Cloud leaves the tanks idle. And Wayne is, well, it's going okay, but actually Clem somehow pulls together a defense, lifts the command center, and you gotta be real careful. Oh, it really looked, you could hear me winding up for the GG moment there as Wayne comes crashing in, but somehow Clem manages to avoid the brunt of the Banelings and keeps a core of Marines and Marauders alive. Enough of them, indeed, to actually drive back the army. Wayne has one more big attack before, well, Clem has a planetary at his 4, as well as 3/3 upgrades. There's a lurker tech on the way, but here he comes again. Parasitic Bomb might be an option here. A surprising lack of it. He's using a lot of Blinding Cloud, but not so much Parasitic Bomb. And that means those medevacs are still intact throughout all these fights. Clem is able to micro back behind the tanks. More Zerglings streaming into the 3rd. The deja vu. We've just seen this base flying before. As Clem is once again driven away. Wayne. He's got 7 lurkers in production. Does he already have adaptive talents? No, but he's about to get lurker range. 11 lurkers here. Ghosts. And the production tab as well, but the creep is spreading, and the tumors may... Oh my god. Oh, he's warming up. This was the risk. Clem seems to be fully warmed up here, but the lurkers may be able to take advantage of the space created earlier in the match. Siege tanks. Is there a scan? The siege tanks do outrange the lurkers, of course, though not by so much. You can just be haphazard about it. More lurkers burrowing. Clem is trying to hold it together. There's a lot of repair going on. A scan. The Marine DPS is absolutely ridiculous. The medevacs are somehow all out of energy. Another not a Parasitic Bomb. Blinding Cloud from Wayne closes it out. He's able to leverage that advantage from earlier and close out the game. Though it did look a little dicey there as Clem starts holding the line, but Wayne did a great job of working his way up to the hive tech and adding it into the fight before Clem was able to regain any sort of momentum. But I think the difference between the Clem of the first 10 minutes and the last few there was pretty clear. So, as the series goes on, I think we have a chance of seeing Clem bounce back. That isn't a spoiler, but it was clearly... I've never seen... Not never seen, but... Rarely is it so clear that someone's warmed up in a series. Oh, the micro that he was showing was just a little bit too late. Wayne was able to capitalize on that lead. And that was a really classic Terran versus Zerg style there. As in, he did essentially the textbook. Build enough lings to try to contain the Terran before they're on 3 bases and before you're on 4. And then, as they're clearly going to get their 3rd base established, you take a 4th, get more creep spread, get your upgrades, and continue to try to deny the 4th base while defending your own. And then, past that, hive tech, upgrades, vipers, and lurkers. Adding in all those. And because of the advantages, because he was able to get his economy up so quickly off those little leads in the early game, Wayne just had the overwhelming amount of tech. Like, Clem had ghosts on the way. If Wayne botches one more attack, and I don't think he botched any of the attacks, they just didn't go amazing. They went good, not great. But once there's a dozen ghosts on the field, I don't think there's very much possibility of a good attack. What ghosts do is, if you don't win the fight right at the start, the ghosts start lining up their shots, and things start going downhill in the supply count quite fast. So Wayne closing it out right on time. Also, a curious, what am I saying? Well, one, a commitment to Blinding Cloud and essentially swearing off. There were several opportunities for big parasitic bombs on those medevacs, and obviously the blinding clouds ended up working out. But not a single parasitic bomb on the clump of medevacs. Here's the thing. The medevacs ran out of energy anyways, so that might have been the factor. He may have just noticed. Clem's running at, like... And, of course, killing the medevacs doesn't actually... God, how's Clem so good with these Reapers? Killing the medevacs doesn't kill the Marines. Just makes it a little easier. Whereas the blinding cloud can almost force the Marines, or one, invalidate the siege tanks, and two, force the Marines. If you're not careful, if your Marines get caught in blinding cloud, they'll just run forward bravely because they can't see anything in front of them. So, like they're in the middle of, like they're an expendable character in a horror movie, they'll just run through the front of the cloud directly into banelings. And that's like the first 10 minutes of the movie, so. Oh my god! He bounced the queen up in the... No. One more time. Come on, guys. Please. Please forgive me. He bounced the queen. Oh, Brenda. That's not what we meant by wanting to fly again. He bounced her up in the air, and as she was in the air, sniped off the creep tumor. That was some of the filthiest micro. Oh my god, throws the grenade, dodges the links. In the air under the queen. Yes, obviously the queen doesn't actually block the shots, but... I mean, pixel perfect. Yeah, I think he's warmed up. And that's what we know Clem for. The professional oncologist. The, high-velocity surgeon. That's a great term. I like that term a lot. That's what he does, all right? His units are like a scalpel. Well, he slices his way in towards the natural. Doing this again. Like, it's usually... I feel like... The Reaper, of course, lives at least a little while longer, gets a decent scout. The grenade actually gets... Oh my god. Denying some more vision. It is rare. This is one of those things you pull out maybe 1 in 10 games. Like, you have the threat of running by with the Hellions. But as they say, 2 Hellions in the drone line are 2 Hellions that are not now sitting at the edge of the creep. As Sun Tzu said on his blog. Anyways. And that's exactly the reason why we don't usually see it. Is one, when you only have 2 Hellions, you're very susceptible to Zerglings. And you now are going to really struggle to control the creep. As that's just simply not enough to be sniping off creep tumors, to even really bully the Zerglings. And keep them back at home. So a similar scenario to the previous game where Clem, he still has some of the Hellions, but Wayne is going to feel pretty comfortable moving up in the drone count. He's got his lair in quite a timely manner. And overall, going to be sitting in a comfortable position going in to the mid-game. 4th hatchery is on the way. Clem with another later 3rd command center. Two Cloak Banshees coming in. Lair is done. Overseer nearly there. Ooh, Transfuse comes through at seemingly the last second. Couple of Evo chambers up there. Still, where's that Overseer? Finally shows up. Banshees will escape in time. 2 Banshees, an important number to keep. As that allows you to one-shot drones. Obviously much better. DPS as well. Get some damage on the 4th hatch here. Though, not going perfect. Big Zergling counterattack as well. Though there is no 3rd command center on location. Has Wayne... Has he lost an Overlord? I believe he has. He just lets him in. Can't let those guys in. I mean, I don't think it's enough, but he's going to trade for the Marines. And this is kind of a best case scenario. You don't really... if you can trade like 2-to-1 Zerglings versus Marines, which, you know, not quite. But cutting down that Marine count before, as the observer just pointed out, no Bane speed. Oh, that's a mistake. Oh no. Baneling speed is by far the most important upgrade. But I think Wayne's got a little caught up. That Bane speed, not just for the speed, but for the +5 HP. He's getting Hydra speed. He hasn't built any Banelings yet. He may very well not notice until his Banelings are done and they start waddling up. I don't know if Baneling speed would have been done by now, but... Oh, Wayne. Oh, that's a really big issue. As Clem just going to have a field day. Even on creep, for someone like Clem, it's really not. You need those speed banes. Clem actually has a supply lead now. He's got his 3 bases up. He didn't lose that first group of Marines that we saw last game. Oh, you really need baneling speed. Okay, the creep is pushed back towards the 3rd hatch. Tanks on the way. Big counterattack. But the Banshees are back at home to soften the blow. Zerglings and Banelings try to close the oh my god, it's so sad. Clem. Oh no. Brandon, no! Clem just targeted down all the Banes. 1, 2, easy peasy. It's just Queens left. And just like that, Baneling speed is on the way. It's not gonna finish. Will Clem just win here? Or, oh my god. He's targeting down Hydras. He gets out, but oh, the Cloaked Banshees! Well, he does have an Overseer here, but the reinforcements aren't gonna stop. Banelings rolling into the 3rd. Clem, maybe the wrong way. Oh, beautiful split there. Meanwhile, on the other side, the siege tanks targeting the Hydras, not the Zerglings on top of the Marines. Clem actually moving the siege tank fire away from the Marines. Oh my. Ooh. He's not just warm, he's hot right now as he's tearing through the Zerg. Baneling speed may be done for the 0 Banelings left. Oh, I can't stress how big an issue that is. But overall, I don't know if it would have made the difference, as Clem, with a convincing victory in Game 2, making up for lost time. Wow. That was a clean execution in every sense of the word. Even though those Hellions didn't find much. God. When Clem's on point, ooh, you don't want to be in front of him. That was pretty scary, how easily he dismantled Wayne there. Well, Game 3. Dragon Scales. I don't know. I mean, pretty clear mistake in the Baneling speed, but the thing is, it wouldn't have been done for the first attack. And Clem already had so much momentum that it's hard to determine how much you want to commit. Maybe the counterattack was too much. It's one of those situations where there wasn't necessarily an outright mistake, especially before that lair attack timing. It was just that Clem's micro is so good. Like, if the correct amount of Zerglings in order to kill, say, 10 Marines is 30, like, to kill them comfortably, well, then the number, you gotta have 40. Okay? That's the difference. With a Terran like Clem, you must bring the reserves, if you have them. Of course, if you're always building reserves, you're not going to have the economy to maintain that as well. So that's always the struggle. The balance, especially for Zerg, where you have to make a very active decision with each larva. Is this a Zerglings? That's the correct tense, all right? That's the correct plural. Is this larva a Zerglings? Or is it a drone? Or any other sort of unit, but that is the most clear split. So, choose wrongly, and well, one, if you cancel a larva, it doesn't come back. Almost gets the creature from the high ground, but that larva doesn't come back. It's just gone. The egg just pops. It's gone. As well as the kind of scaling issue. I'm gonna out myself as not an expert math nerd, but the logarithmic scaling that Zerg can do, where you start out by building 3 drones at a time, which gives you the economy to build 10 drones the next time, etc., etc. We don't see as much of the, I'm gonna steal a term from Age of Empires, which I think is quite appropriate, the booming strategies. Oh my god, he did it again. Not exactly the same, but he swiped that creep tumor out. Clem is the only player I'll watch with the first Reaper. You know what? Back on... no more mathematical... You know what? Clem is the only player who I think is worth watching that early game Reaper versus Queen flirtation that goes on. Because Clem is the only player who might make something of it besides mildly annoying a Queen. Maybe Beyond. The man who got the Reaper nerfed twice. But that's it. Otherwise, it's just the constant, like, 2 dogs. Honestly, the Reaper and the Queen is like 2 dogs barking at each other across a fence. Okay? Like, they're not gonna get to it. They're not gonna go at it. But they're just annoying each other for a while. Alright, the Hellions. He's shown that he's very willing to send the Hellions in this series. He's established that precedent, which is gotta be not in the back, but in the front of Wayne's mind right now, assuming that's more easily accessible. But this time around, Clem just keeping them all intact. Wayne getting that lair. The Baneling nest should see the evolution chambers. Unless he's gonna try some sort of crazy... He's adding 3 more gases. How many gases already? Okay, that's gonna be 4 total. No Evo chambers. Is this... I mean, it's for Baneling speed to start. I'm interested in if this is some sort of other lair tech rush. He's gonna have 6... Is this a Spire? Mutas! Quite a gamble. But definitely a tone shift in this series. After 2 games of Hydras, 2 games of heavy upgrades, it's going to be the Mutalist Den. Building at the natural. Clem, once again, I think, honestly, Clem's build... Now, Wayne is a top-tier player. Wayne is in, obviously, the top 16 of Europe, as well as the ladder. But there's a big difference between Wayne and Cyril. Well, then again, there's a big difference between Cyril and literally everyone else. Clem's doing a style, like with this later third base and Cloak Banshee Hellion. This is a very anti-cheese style. He's sacrificing a bit of potential economy with the quicker third CC in order to make sure he's safe against all early cheese. Having those Banshees is your anti-roach rush. Having the Hellion shuts down any sort of Zergling play. So, instead of going for a little bit extra greed, Clem is playing... it's a conservative opener. This is the Terran opener that has been used for 13 years straight. So, to varying degrees. But even back in Wings of Liberty, reactored Hellion into Banshee and then a 3rd command center was a staple. Oh my. Siege tank does not discriminate. It just unleashes high velocity justice. Oh my god, 2 queens targeted down. The best defense for mutas is a good offense. Or against mutas, rather. Which means getting up in their face and pressuring with Marines. But the muta count is high enough coming out of the eggs here that the Zerglings are able to cover. And now the mutas would take out the first 2 medevacs. The Baneling speed was done. He took out enough Marines and bullied the rest away. Now the mutas have a little bit of momentum. Now he's able to buy some time with the medevacs. But keeping at least 5 mutas alive and taking out those first 2 medevacs while keeping most of the economy intact, this is a great spot for Wayne. And Clem, he has 1-1 done. He has an armor. He hasn't started 2-2. He does have turrets up at his bases, and he has... Now, this is the main concern, is there are 69 SCVs, which is more than nice enough to power this 3-base economy. He's got 5 barracks, fully pumping out Marines, 9 at a time here. I'm adding as a tech lab or 2. And now continuing across the map. Wayne. Yeah, there it is. The Mutiling Bling APM. Reaching into the closer to 1,000 than 0. Oh, but the Mutas essentially need a constant... you just need to babysit them. You need to make sure they don't wander into the street, because the street is filled with a bunch of Marines. Of course, Widow Mine's also a real and present danger. The supply depot wall off with the Banshees behind it. The much more reliable bunker there. As of course, Zerglings and Banelings will not be able to kill those Banshees. Despite their wings, they cannot fly. But always very excited to see a Muta game. So far, unfortunately, the Mutas haven't really gotten much done. Wayne not shying away from the hive tech here, knowing that once Clem starts maxing out, the Mutas are just not gonna cut it. Oh, gets a full medevac of Marines. Widowmines are burrowing. 6 more Mutas on the way, gonna put him at 13 with +1 flyer. I believe that's about the number to one-shot Widowmines before they fire, making it a little bit easier to deal with, though still a real danger. So many Banelings. 29 and counting. And once you reach 200 supply with this sort of army, the only way you can add additional power is those Banelings. Big stim there for Clem. He doesn't have that many medevacs. The Mutas have been quite diligent in picking them off, right-clicking the Banelings through, maximizing their potential HP. Widowmine is taken out before it can fire. Banelings with speed are closing the distance on the Marines, and the Mutas are ripping apart anything left behind. The planetary fortress, Muta's doing some extra damage. Banshee barely survives, but 20 SCVs do not. The Marines take out 3 Mutas on the way out, but I think that's overall a resounding victory for Wade. Yeah, the resource cost may be similar, but he's able to kill the SCVs, and he killed a lot of Marines. He can refill that army. The Lings and the Banes. He actually lost a lot of the Mutas. He's lost 13 Mutas. Oh, that was more than I thought. So that does make things a bit more difficult. Widowmine's trying to trigger there. Ooh, not going perfect. 2-2 about to complete. Ultralisk Cavern. Coming up for Wayne here. Looking to close it out at Ultralisk. Not a bad choice against a Terran who is on a tenuous economy and is focused on the M&M here. The Marines, the Marauders, the Medevacs, and the Mines, as the Ultras can shrug off most of those hits while the Lings and Banes swarm in behind. Of course, it is kind of a limited time-only composition, limited to until the Terran gets too many ghosts out, for the most part. And it's not like the Thor support here is useless against the Ultras. In fact, it's quite nice. Well, Widowmine's dragged out, looking for more. One of them burrowed. Finding more damage onto the Terran army. There's enough medevacs now to keep things mostly intact. Trying to save the Thor. Picks it up. Tucks its legs in. Oh, and the Widowmines are being dealt with. Though detection is a bit spotty here. Oh, but Banelings rolling back in. Not all the Marines even stim there. I think the Banelings hit before some of them could. Widowmines underneath. Take a big slam. Marines and Zerglings alike. So far, a trade. 4 Ultras in the production tab. Is there even a Ghost Academy for Clem? There is not. Either not expecting or not worrying about dealing with the next level of tech as he tries to contend with the Mutiling Bane. The supplies are dead even. 12.5 minutes in. +3 infantry weapons is nearly completed for Clem. No armor on the horizon. 3-3 halfway done for Wayne here with chitinous plating. About 20 seconds out. Lings and Banes crashing in towards the third. Banelings Trying to drag out some of those Widowmine hits. More banelings coming through. Widowmine. He's, Wayne, a bit of a haphazard attack. The Thors in the red, but not nearly dead. Gonna need to be repaired, though. No Overlord speed means that keeping detection alive is surprisingly difficult. The Ultras are about to be revealed, though. Somehow, he's managed to keep them from being revealed until chitinous plating is done, and that is a massive deal. Widowmines connect, but the Ultra tanks all the hits, which means the Lings and Banes are able to make their way by. The Marines are already bruised here. There are no more Widowmines underneath. The Ultras were able to drag the hits out, and suddenly the third base is vulnerable to the Baneling. They're crashing in, but a prison of their own design. The supply depots lock them inside. The Ultra less overwhelming right now, forcing the Marines back to the center of the map. Widowmines, they do nothing. They do nothing but potentially hurt the Terrans at this stage. Muta's still alive. It's a Christmas miracle for the Zerg, which I'm not sure are huge on Christmas, but you know, it's more of a metaphor. Warlings and Ultras are closing in on the fourth. Autumn colors throughout the Terran army. The Stims doing almost as much damage as the Ultras as they chew apart the front line. Ultras in the natural. Ultras to the third. Ultras have already cleared out part of the fourth. Another Ultra is chewing up the Marines. And Wayne has the economy to keep the train rolling across the map. More Ultras streaming in. There's just not the army to deal with this. The medevacs are out of energy, and there's no more units to stop the Wayne train from bringing the pain all the way across the plain. We see now 2-1. Wayne with a classic macro Zerg. I am very much enjoying it. The Ultras newly slimmed down. Doesn't make them any faster, they just look faster, alright? Like, but Wayne doing a great job of keeping Clem on that mid-game composition as he brought in the big daddies. I stand by my statement. And closes it out with some great macro there. Wayne proving more than a match for Clem thus far. Actually, I mean, well, going into game 4. I'm not even really sure where that went wrong. I think the Muta momentum. Clem probably a bit blindsided, as it's only a slight exaggeration to say no one goes Mutas. And by no one, I mean maybe 1 in 20 games. Do we see a real Muta game? Occasionally we'll see like 5 Mutas pop out and die, but a true Mutalist game out of Wayne, and leveraging that into the Ultralisks. Just so exciting to see. Clem just never able to find his footing and get the 4th base comfortably or get ghosts out or anything like that. So Wayne really it's my favorite style of Zerg, by the way. That's why that style of Zerg right there is why I originally played Zerg as my main race. Since then, I promote more diversity, but that Mutaling Baneling, like 80-ish drone economy, constant, and then if you get Hive Tech, it's just to get even more units out there to overwhelm. Essentially like the Heart of the Swarm cinematic. The Ultras just running down the Marines, overrunning the tanks. The Mutas swiping the medevacs out of the sky. Just cinematic Zerg from Wayne there. Clem. Honestly, it kind of feels like Clem never really did anything wrong. It just didn't go right enough. Those are the best games, where they're just kind of jockeying for position back and forth. I believe that's called competition. Oh my god, Clem. Respect. At the end of that game, you could, above Clem's head, respect plus. It's like, alright. 3 command center it is. You want a macro? I'll show you macro. And truly. And that is really, what was the issue for Clem is he didn't get that mid-game economy up quite as quickly as you usually would because he didn't go 3CC. He went for the 2-base Banshee, which takes a little while to ramp up. And by the time he had more units out, that's, oh my god, it's becoming a trend. It's like a signature move now. The pop it and lock it, all right? Pop the queen up and knock out the tumor. How many times is that gonna happen, though? They can't keep getting away with it. Anyways, Wayne's doing a roach all in. I don't blame him at all for this. I think you gotta take your shot here. This is a tough map as time goes on against Terrans. I may draw your attention to the feature-length fiesta that was Raynor versus Spirit on this map. If you haven't yet checked that out, pencil it into your schedule for most of the day, as it was well over an hour long. But yeah, once the map slows down, it does seem very difficult to break a Terran here. But of course, things have barely even heated up, so roaches on the way across. Banshee on the way. The Banshee a little later this time because of the 3rd command center, but should be fully operational by the time the roaches arrive. Behind this, already drones, so this is a designated pressure. This is one of those builds that its entire intent is to force a strong response. I'm surprised he's scuttling around, or he's turning around once the Banshee comes out, though he's only lost 1 roach. The Bubula affects everyone equally. Only affects move, not attack speed, so if the Banshee's in range, it's actually quite beneficial for it. Great, Banshee micro keeps enough roaches alive, though, that if any Hellions come across, they should be a help. Banshee cloaks. Does invest in the cloak again. Does Wayne have spores? He does, he does. 61 drones, wow. Really invested here. Those roaches bullying Clem out of the way. That 3rd command center just now landing for Clem as he spins up his production. Overlord hanging out. Kind of its entire deal. Ooh, taking the 4th base right down the center is Wayne. Oh no. Really? Well, the roaches are popping out. There's nothing to stop them from getting into the main here. Finds a couple drones. Still 5 Hellions with about 1 Hellion of HP between them. 7 drones. 10. Ooh, it's already bad. And then the Banshee's finding some. 11 drones. That actually knocks Wayne down to 51. Wow, that's a painful hit. 11 drones doesn't feel like a huge number at this stage, but Wayne did not have any more in production. He's caught at this awkward timing when his lair tech isn't done, but hatch tech isn't really doing it either. Right? He's in the purgatory phase of Zerg. So he really wanted to just maintain a stable drone count there. So that way you could start mass unit production right as roach speed kicks in, especially considering he doesn't have a Bane Nest, which means this is just a big roach timing. Straight out of Wings of Liberty here. The Stefano style. I bet there's a name you haven't heard in a bit. But the roach is still closing in. Clem actually caught a little bit out. Thankfully for him, the Banshees are still intact, but Wayne is battering down the door right now. SCV's inside. The Marines will be able to pop out. The Banshees may once again drive away. 2 Banshees drive away, or at least threatening to drive away a lot more roaches than that original attack. Factory manages to finish. Banshee's still doing a whole lot of damage here, but the roaches continue to stream across. Wayne has had 60 drones, adding a few more back at home. It's very tough to decide when you've done enough, and when the Queens! Brenda! We've arrived! There is never enough! Continue forward to victory! Oh, shit! Well, the queens are the entirety of the anti-air here, but even taking out one of the banshees should add a lot more sustainability to this push right up until another siege tank shows up and does terrible, terrible damage. Trying to protect the queen. It's... well... oh, she... no, the cloak! No! The banshee finally heals off the queen. And the units are getting... oh my god, he drops it! What? Caught between a rock and a hard place. Oh, I didn't even... I just thought they would all die. That's worse. I mean, he got some of them out. I can't... well, the rest of this game doesn't matter anymore. One more time. Come on. This is a highlight reel match. Alright. Some of the roaches die to the rocks. Wayne quickly reacts and takes down the rocks. He only loses like 5 or 6 more roaches. Okay, maybe 7 or 8. But... wow, what a move. Well, while it ended up not having a massive impact, that's an emotional impact right there. An emotional rock dropped in the bone trench on those roaches. A lot of bones in that trench. Oh, Zerg. Like, who's doing the forensic analysis, Warfield? Well, I don't know how we're going to top that. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. It's been a fun series. I award Clem the victory. The rare non combat victory here. It's like doing a side quest. Achievement unlocked. Hard Roach Cafe. Oh, but that doesn't have the rock part of the pun. Oh, puns are hard. Well, that's a lot of Roach Ravager. Corrosive Bile takes out the tank, but a massive concave, a Marine Marauder. Well, honestly, a lot of the Marines splitting back, not using their DPS. The Corrosive Biles are not so much to kill the Marines as to force them to micro, thus reducing the DPS. Because the DPS of the Terran army is just far too high to compete with directly. So the Corrosive Biles are to kind of isolate and kill some units. The Ravagers aren't too bad on their own, but the siege tanks on the back. Wayne? Yeah, this, I mean, siege tank Marine Marauder. With even some Banshees. Well, the Medevacs are starting to run out of energy. The units are thinning out. There is a counterattack, which is why some of these units are... why Wayne's army doesn't look as beefy as it could. The Roaches will get into the third, but Clem takes out the fourth. Knocks out 2 of the tanks, but... well, no. Clem now has 2-2 to just +1, +2. The Carapace upgrade. Wayne taps it out. Ever since those rocks dropped. Well, we've been treading water here. Well. That was certainly... well, we're all tied up. That's... I can't believe... I mean, it was a very obvious play, but also, I can't... I love it when a plan comes together. I can't even... I wonder how the players were. It feels like Wayne when that happened, even though he was still in a pretty capable position. Just... there's no emotionally coming back from that. Once you've been trapped once, your mind is eternally caged. Hashtag deep. Well, Royal Blood. Not an auspicious map for Queens. Game 5. Clem's brought it back. The Roaches? Wayne handling it well for the majority of the game, but the Banshees are just such a built-in counter. Roach is unable to even look up, let alone shoot there, so... The Queen's the only ones able to get any Banshee kills. I don't mind, like... I don't think Clem added more Banshees in from the initial 2, but I wouldn't mind more players just... against some of these unit compositions, just adding in a second or third Banshee. Now, I sound like Twitch chat there, because the reason you don't do that is because it takes a tech lab on your starport. And, that's like... Tech labs and reactors don't mix, except in the campaign, so... it's difficult to have production of both things. Same reason you don't see a Raven for creep spread clearing or anything like that. It's just anything that cuts in your potential medevac or maybe Liberator production, though we haven't seen a single starport unit that isn't a Banshee or a medevac. Clem's been very consistent in this TVZ. Two command centers. Once again, respect. I do truly feel like the two command centers... Also... Okay, I need to finish my sentence before I move on to the next one, when I've already finished one in my head. You ever do that? It's not a great habit to be in. So here's the thought. You know, I didn't even finish the first thought. The thought was... Even with the 3 command centers in the last game, the Banshee... timing was still more than enough to shut down the Roach pressure. It wasn't like an early Roach hull in. It was just like a 2-base Roach pressure. But the Banshee was more than enough to shut it down. So, I was gonna say, the 2-base play... Yeah, the 2-base Banshee is probably a bit unnecessary when it comes to playing it safe. If 3-base was clearly enough. Wayne is not interested in playing those super early all-ins, and I can't blame him. They're such a gamble for Zerg. Becomes very difficult if you don't outright kill or essentially cripple your opponent to bounce back. Those are mostly reserved for Dark. So Clem now feeling a lot more comfortable with the 3CC play, which the main weakness being those very early all-ins. Because of course you've invested 400 minerals in a command center. Command centers don't shoot back, at least until you get an engineering bay. Alright, production coming online there, on the way for Wayne, favoring those quick lair plays. I'd love to see more mutas, but that does feel like maybe once a series play. They aren't a particularly reliable mid-game unit. Do have 2 more gases in production for Wayne though, so we're heading there. Getting the safety spores. What around that spore 20 marker? Those low APM challenge enjoyers will know. Not poking it with the hell, threatening it. He set the tone earlier. But Wayne proved himself capable of defending. Double NG Bay. Looks like we got a macro game on our hands. Neither player willing to risk it. In Game 5, this is about the most standard macro you can get from either side. You got 3 going on 4 hatches. Double Evo and Baneling speed for Wayne. Clem, 3CC, double NG Bay, going up towards 5 Rex. And Medevacs. Hellions poking in one side, Banshees working on the hatchery on the other. Queen's pushing them away on both fronts. Bit of damage onto the hatchery. But Baneling speed has not been forgotten since that one game. He has been very diligent about the Bane speed timing. Evos. So Clem has maybe a 20-second lead on his 1-1 upgrades initially. Stim done. Those medevacs will set the timer for the initial attack here. Oh, the Banshee's finding a surprising amount of Zergling kills as they get to work on those rocks, cutting their teeth or claws. I don't think they eat the rocks. It's more of a claws thing. They like arms. Arms can have claws. Yeah. Hellions in towards the 4th. Armory on the way. The Zerglings trying to chase it down. Hellions stop for a moment. And they'll get the tires slashed. Well, here come the Marines. 1-1, still pretty far off for both sides. Marines picked up all the ones that could fit in the medevacs. Hellions in towards the 4th. Good block from Wayne. Evo chamber, nicely done. So far, so good on the defense. He has Baneling speed. The Hellions abandoned by the Marines. Do they go to the other side of the mineral wall here? Some cute micro plays out of Clem, but that's to be expected. Infestation pit. Is he gonna rush Ultras? That's all I can think of here. Immediate hive. 8-minute hive. If he can survive. So this time, skipping the Mutas and the Hydras to the Ultralisks. Double medevac, picked up, heads towards the May. 2-2 begins for Wayne. So, it's Wayne's job to, well, the Clem spot the hive. He hasn't seen the hive. In fact, he hasn't technically seen the main this entire game, but if he sees it, especially before it's done, well, Wayne can expect even more pressure. And right now, he's barely holding... honestly, Wayne's doing a great job of zoning Clem out on both sides, especially considering the army supply gap. 96 to 72 right now. And that is Marine Marauder Mine Medevac up against just Ling Bane at the moment. Only +2 weapons on the way. Oh, beautiful targeting from Clem. 4th command center. Hive is nearly complete. It's gonna be Ultras, right? That's the only choice. Adrenal glands, obviously. Vipers. And once he gets the money, I mean, Massling Bane can be good, but none of those things matter against Widow Mines. Oh, here comes Clem. Still no Ultra Cavern. Clem is maxed out at 9 minutes with well, no Marauders, just Mines and Medevacs here. Widow Mines, burrowing. They have Drilling Claws. Marines on the back line. Uh-oh. It's bad. Clem pulls back slightly, lines up the firing line, and guns down the Zerg. Wow. And the big risk of reaching so far up the tech tree is the precarious position. Once you get there. With 2-2, still 20 seconds out, Adrenal Glands halfway done, the Vipers just popping out. Wayne is cut down by Clem. 194 Zerglings to 23 Marines, approaching Starship Troopers level of kill-death ratio. Not quite there, but Clem warming it up. Honestly, ever since those rocks dropped. Well, that was certainly a series. A classical TVZ. A lot of fun micro. Some really solid macro. I really like watching Wayne play. Though Clem is just on a slightly higher level, I think, at the moment. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I hope I made your day. a little bit better. 1,040 likes. Do another video. Do another cast. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I made... No, we're going in circles now. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.